Hey, it's Mark coming to you from Baker's Green Acres. Today's the 10th or so of March, and this is what happens when you get a little bit of warm weather and you start feeling like winter's over. We had a couple of brutally windy days, 2 or 3, I think 3, and then it's dropped down to like 10 degrees. I think it might be 14 right now, and it's like 10 o'clock in the morning. And it's a little bit windy, but it is cold. It is cold, and it's supposed to be like this for, I think, 10 days. So I thought what I'd do is kind of run through what happens this time of the year. You know, I've come under a lot of fire because I've told you that we don't water in the wintertime. And I have, you know, somewhere around, I don't know, right now I probably have 150 head here of Mangalitsa. They're a heritage breed of pig, and they're not real interested in water in the wintertime. They like to eat snow. But as you can tell, we don't have any snow right now, or not enough to keep them hydrated. So it's still too cold to turn the water on. My water lines, I'll have to show you this sometime, but my water lines just sit at the root of the fence. And they're for summertime use only, or warm weather use only. Here's one right here. There's a fence post. It's just a marker, really. There used to be a fence here, and we took it out. But there's a water line that comes up here from the pump. And in the summertime, we turn that on, and we have water pressure every place on the farm, because we're constantly watering chickens and pigs, and mostly chickens. I mean, the water's going to them a lot, and the cattle too. But in the wintertime, I only water, you know, our laying hens. There's like 100 of them, and that's no big deal. One of the kids does that. And the cows, we have big troughs for them with heaters in them. But the pigs, we don't, and we haven't done that for 10 years. And the reason for that, I get a lot of heat for it, almost bordering on cruelty, is because here where it's real cold with these pigs, especially with their long hair, they get excited in the water, they get wet, and then they're cold. And they don't really need it for hydration. They're mostly playing in it. So we quit doing it. We just quit doing it. We did it for a couple years. With our white pigs, we had to. Just standard pigs, you have to. They won't eat enough snow to keep themselves hydrated. And you know, there's a lot of talk about if an animal eats snow, that it brings its body temperature down too much, and it throws off the feed conversion. Yeah, I get that. If you're doing white pigs or just regular farm pigs, and you got them on a full feeder, let's say, and you're just trying to get them fat as quickly as possible, then yeah, I can see that in that case. In this case, the Mangalitsa, we want it to be minimum a year old before it's off to process. So we're not in a big rush to walk the feed to them to where they need a ton of hydration. So that's kind of the thinking in this regard. They can take on enough hydration by eating snow that they'll be fine. I mean, when you're a kid, remember, you're out and you're playing, get thirsty, pick up a handful of snow and you eat it. That's kind of what they do all day long. They just nip at the snow a little bit. And you know, we've watched them. I got a pen of pigs right here, and then my place where I sit at the table is right up there. So I watch them all the time. They eat snow constantly. But now it's too cold to turn the water on, and there's no snow, so what do? They have to be watered twice a day. So this is what I do. And it's a pain for a few weeks, but it's a bigger pain putting in frost-free hydrants and you know, thinking that they won't freeze and all that stuff. In the wintertime, it's just better to, when you live in a snowy place, just to rely on snow for your hydration for your pigs. But here I have the trough on the front of the loader, and I'm going to fill it up at this. I have a frost free here, and I have another one at the bottom of the hill, and I keep the frost frees open. Like one of the biggest problems you can have with a frost free is if the water gets turned on and the ground gets totally soaked right there, then the frost will travel down in that moisture and it'll get to the bottom of it and it will freeze it. So the only time I'll run this is when I have something under it or I have a hose on it that's taking the water away from it. We had problems because the kids would come over and they'd turn it on, they'd take a drink, but they'd be putting, you know, several gallons on the ground. And so we had to say no more drinks from there in the dead of winter. So I'm going to just position this thing, fill that trough up, and take it out to the ones that I can't get to with a hose. All the other ones I will be just hooking up a hose with the butcher shop, and then I just walk it around. You know, stop at each place, water them for a little while, they get their drink. You can tell if they're really thirsty because they'll mob the waterer, but I do them twice a day, and sometimes even in the evening. They're not really interested, they'll come sniff at it, but that's it. They usually can take on enough at one drinking to sustain them for the day. All right, so I'm gonna go do this, and while I'm doing it, I'm gonna show you exactly how that looks.